Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Manclaw, the Near Death Experience channel. And tonight we're here at University Hospital in the pavilion, and we have author, lecturer, Dr. Ryce, and this is your new book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again?
And what you can do about it.
And what you can do about it. That's the most important thing, I guess.
That's the most important thing, yes.
And it's very powerful. We had this lecture with you tonight. It was just wonderful. Everybody was able to relate to it. You went through all of the points. It was extremely well done, I thought. And does this book support that lecture?
Actually, we did a shortened version of the content of the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And basically what the work is about is, as it relates to the near-death channel, is that what the world calls a near-death experience is really a near-life experience.
Right.
And that forgiveness is a way to have the same experience, and that is by collapsing what's going on in the so-called body's mind, which is what happens when clinical death occurs, and we have a direct experience of who we are as human beings, and that is the awesome active presence of love. And so this is about the ancient Aramaic technology of forgiveness, about how to change the content of your mind so that it supports you living your life as a human being. You know, if you ask anyone if they've ever held a newborn, everyone's descriptor for a newborn is about the active presence of love. And the work that I do is about restoring people to that near-life experience of living as love.
I was really impressed, Doctor, when you went over the people that had been experienced in your lectures 20 years ago and have utilized this, and you talked about how powerful they have become by utilizing what you taught them 20 years ago. That I thought was very, very precipitous. And also
to have that kind of a powerful experience. I mean, people who've been through that near-life experience come back and they're empowered in a whole new way. Not everybody wants to go through clinical death in order to have that experience.
Absolutely.
But the consistent use of the Aramaic tool of forgiveness, and it's not forgiveness in the form of, I let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me. It's a tool with which I go inside myself and get rid of the garbage that's happening to me again and again and again. People who never learn to forgive, to go inside themselves and remove content that doesn't belong, get to live the title of my book. They go through that content over and over, relationship after relationship, situation after situation. When we start to remove what never belonged, everything changes.
one of the other things I thought was very powerful about your whole seminar is the ability to empower yourself and absolutely have a miracle in a very short amount of time, even when the person that you're praying with or for or meditating with or for, meditating going one way, praying going the other, okay, and intercession versus the active thought of getting yourself organized.
Right.
This is a very powerful tool to get yourself organized as well as letting a higher power come into your life, as far as I can see. This is inviting
Absolutely.
the higher power in easily where people might not understand that from the beginning, and that was a very powerful tool, I thought. Can you just take a moment and explain how the Aramaic, and from a medical point of view, versus like the Greeks or the Roman medical, how did that fit in timeline-wise?
Well, if you look at the ancient Aramaic, the healers there didn't go around putting pills in people's mouths. They taught people how to live as human beings. They taught people about the active presence of love, which is our human lives. And when we're plugged into that power supply, what happens is we're empowered to start to disappear the disease processes that we otherwise take a pill and stuff it back in. Stuffing it back in doesn't get rid of it, it just knocks it out of awareness. And interesting enough, you mentioned prayer. In the Aramaic language, the word prayer means to set a trap for God.
Really?
Which is like, well, what do you mean to set a trap for God? What does that mean? Well, if you think about your TV set sitting over there, if you have a proper antenna on the roof and it's oriented properly, you get this crystal clear picture of channel 3, crystal clear sound. The antenna is a trap for the frequency of channel 3. If somebody goes up and bends the arms and turns the antenna backward, you're going to have a lousy picture and sound because the trap isn't set properly.
Right, and filters are everything. Whether
Exactly.
they're air, fire, water, whatever it is,
Exactly.
they are very, very powerful as far as the human being is concerned. One of the other things that I think is very important that many people don't understand is that our mind does not think. It is the water in our mind that allows us to think. And I think that's a very big part of what we're doing.
Live as the active presence of love. They did not teach people to forgive others for what is going on inside themselves. They taught them how to go inside themselves and remove the cause of their diseases. Health showed up. What happens in the Roman and the Greek system is you give somebody a pill and you stuff down what's creating the symptoms. You hide it away, but what you've just done is you've just created degeneration in the system because you used a poison to stuff in a poison. And you said, now that we've suppressed the symptoms of your cold, see, don't you feel better? Well, yeah, I feel better, but what's going on inside? You know, that's like the plumber that comes to the house and you've got a big flood going on in the backyard in the septic system. Of course, oh, no problem. I have a 4-inch cork. I can put a cork in that pipe, no problem. What does everybody know is going to happen in the house within a very short period of time? All that garbage is going to start coming up in the house. Well, it's the same thing when you start plugging the system and suppressing symptoms, you end up with garbage going on in the house and degeneration occurring. In Aramaic, they showed people how to open and remove what never belonged. That's forgiveness.
I also was impressed with the Aramaic being such a physical science,
it's physics
oriented reality. And in my own NUOS, NUOS, transpersonal behavioral psychology, which I've been developing over these years, being able to have the power to use science and mathematics and calculus especially, and the ranging to be able to identify and to make expert witness testimony out of what used to be clinical observations and not a reality. I found that 3,500 years ago, the Greeks could write far better than we write as doctors today. But it seems like the Aramaic, they could also...
Yeah, there's a whole other level that happens there. Yes.
And we're only beginning to learn about the old in the modern science and medical technology.
Exactly. And when we really truly pray, we are the trap. We are the space on the earth where the active presence of love shows up. That's a human life. That's what comes out of the so-called near-death experience. That's why
the near-life experience.
That's why I call it the near-life experience.
Yes.
Delighted. Thank you.
God bless.
Enjoyed
Thanks for
the
coming.
invitation to be here. Our consumer